Another video from Exit Strategy. Well, actually, this is a live. Um, I know it's almost 10 p.m. here in New York, upstate New York, but I wanted to come live because just had an urging to talk about and discuss some stuff. Um, whether a lot of people come in or not, I guess you'll find this video when and if you come into my videos tomorrow. And I do strongly encourage you guys to like and subscribe and share these videos that you tend to watch. Um, Even if you don't watch the whole thing through, just send it to someone that you may know that it connects with, because there's always a word in something that we say that may connect with someone, and it could save somebody's life. And what I mean by save their life, it could definitely derail the narcissist's onslaught in their lives and destroying them. So that out of the way, I just want to discuss, as the title suggests, uh, the narcissist uh, lesson, whatever it might have been, was a blessing to the empath. It was designed for the chosen one, and the empath is uh, it was designed for your blessing. You know, all through history, you've had the underdogs that have been mistreated, misused, and abused. Um, and they go through a lot. They've gone through a lot. They went through a lot. But somehow or another, they were vindicated. Now, those are the type of movies we go to. Turn this down a little bit. Just non copyright music, just for essence. So we like movies like that. We like stories like that. We like that type of ending. Most of us with a real heartbeat like those type of endings where the good guy always wins. But in the world we live in, it doesn't seem like the good guy is winning at all. But I want to tell you, man, God is turning these things that the narcissist is doing, in the plots and the tricks and the shenanigans that they're playing with people's lives. He's turning it on his head, and he's making aware by different means. He's making people become attuned to the BS sooner rather than later. And the intuition is just kicking in. And I'll tell you, I told you this before. Pandemic, I believe, was nothing short of the hand of God in allowing. And I want to be very, very precise when I say this, because I know some people lost loved ones in the pandemic. And my condolences to you all. But there is a such thing all through the Bible, whereas God did a purging, a cleansing. And unfortunately, it would seem that even some good people perished. But the Bible says there is none good, not one of us, because we're all guilty, and we're all uh, are fit for death. And that's strong coming from the Bible. So if you're a Bible believing person, you have to embrace this. If you're not, well, I can understand that. But just for emphasis, I use that because sometimes when things happen bad to good people, and on the subject of empaths and chosen ones, in and of ourselves, we're not good. What made us good? What made us decide to do things differently than the narcissist? What made us become more empathetic than the narcissist? It was because we embraced the things that our heart told us were sound, um, were pure, were authentic, and we followed that mindset. Maybe not 110% throughout our life. Maybe we did some shady stuff here and there, but we quickly were convicted by a conscience. You take a narcissist, they don't have that type of conscience. And so, staying on point, the narcissist lesson to us was a blessing. to the empath and the chosen ones because I'm looking back at some of the things I went through and the things that got done to me behind my back and in front of me with the gaslighting, the word silent, where you're trying to conversate with these people and they don't want to seem to get it. And this is on purpose. And so you begin to find out more about yourself. You begin to come back into the true, authentic awareness and realization of who you really are. You don't look at the world at large the same anymore. I'm going to do a video titled "Less is Best." I think I did something similar to that before. But in my own life, you've heard of minimalist people who are becoming very frugal. Some of them are going off on these, converting these buses. Some of them are just going off grid. They're doing a lot of things that don't involve being amongst a lot of people. Why is this phenomenon happening the way it's happening? Yeah, a lot of them are doing it for the appeal factor, and we all do things sometimes for appeal. But the true, authentic loners, chosen ones, the empaths, that is by nature what we're built like. We don't need a crowd. We don't need a lot of people around us to be able to function. And our isolation is where we tend to elevate more because we're thinkers. Um, we introspect a lot. We look at our life as a whole as to how it looks to us and for us, and thereby we go on to see how we can make an impact in other people's lives. At least speaking for me, and I would think that that's what most people who are the elect of God, chosen ones, empaths, I would like to think that they think that way too. And so the lesson the narcissist tried to give us in a bad way ended up being a blessing for us because had we not met them the way we met them and they infected and affected our life the way they did, we would not have come to the point of where we are now, looking at things um, for what they are as opposed to imagining a relationship that's going to get better. Hey, how are you doing, Connor? I think it's Connor. Connor, yeah. These are not the best glasses. They're not the magnifiers. They're just kind of specs. So anyway, if this resonates, just tell me, guys, because it's going pretty good, Connor. I know it's 10 o'clock here in upstate New York, but how about you? How are you? You doing good? I just wanted to speak, man, and I was gonna do a video, but I said, what the heck? Let's do a live. Because somehow somebody's about to go to bed and they may be in despair. They may not be able to connect the dots. There may be something that they're dealing with right now. And I hope that what I'm talking about, is one of those situations where you're looking at the abuse and the stuff and the carnage that the narcissist left behind, and you can't seem to pick the pieces up. It's hard to see it as a blessing many times, but the blessing in and of itself, at the very least, should be the fact that you are aware and awakened and you're out of that engagement or entrapment with the narcissist. That in itself is a blessing because you can rebuild yourself. You can become. I see you too. Hello, how you doing? I see you too. That's a cool name. Glad it's not I see you. I see you too is good. So it's a blessing just to start from that. Start from right there. As I always say, start from right there and begin to use that as a building block. Because if you have nothing else to be grateful for, you can be grateful that you're out of that relationship with them. Because take for example, I got a broken foot here in three places. I just went today and got it x-rayed again, and I saw the x-rays. They want to put pins and screws and bolts and plates and all that stuff in it to some degree, but I'm kind of like asking him to give me another week. You have a good night too, Connor. And you can check this out tomorrow if you want, man. The live will still be here. I appreciate you coming in, man. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Uh, I see some great things happening by way of, the influence that myself and a lot of other content creators are going to make going forward. 2025 is going to be, uh, it's going to be really, really alive. It's not going to be like 2024. It's going to be double the portion. I just see it because you know, it's no way the narcissist can bamboozle us anymore because when I went and talked about the pandemic, I lost my train of thought with that. But that was sort of like God allowing us to be closed in. And if we hadn't been closed in like that, we wouldn't have been able to see and microscopically analyze the person we were living with. When the pandemic came, most, if not all of us, had no choice but to cohabitate inside of close proximities with the person we say we loved. Now, what did that do for the empath and the chosen one? It gave us a chance to really, really, really observe. And what that observation did was it brought us to a real grim conclusion. Not at first, but at some point or another, it brought us to a conclusion. For myself, we chose to deal with the narcs to learn from it. Yep. We chose now. Good thing you bring it up. I see you too. I always liked to admit that we chose the narcissist. I mean, they handpicked us from a distance. Um, it can become obsessive, yeah. Because when we chose them in seemingly a pure way. We were attracted to them for one reason or another in ways that we probably saw ourselves with them on the other side of the thing. They chose us based on the fact of the instant gratification, what they could get from us then. It was like the lily pad that a frog uses. We were that lily pad. They were jumping from one lily pad to the other. And this is supply. This is fuel sources. And if you look at it like this, the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. You can use these analogies, and the analogies helps us heal. The analogies help us understand what seems to be very complex if we sit down and try to look at them in the psychopathy. Because I'm going to be honest, nobody wants to sit down and educate themselves about these demon possessed people. But if you continue to run from trying to get the breakdown of what they are and how they move, it can stunt your healing. You have to understand. It's almost like criminal profiling. You have to understand when you go to the park what signs to look for, as opposed to, in relation to, let's say, pedophiles or opportunists or what they call them, predators. And so when you can see those signs, then you are attuned, more attuned, as opposed to just kind of just going with the flow. So that's the same concept we have when we become educated about the narcissist. No one really wants to do this, but the the alternatives are just to stay stuck in poor me, and what they took us through. The lesson the narcissist gave us was a blessing because we'll never look at life the same. We'll never look at the average human being the same. We will look at people on a per person basis, and those signs will pop up, those behaviors will pop up without us even looking for them because we have that innate awareness now. Yeah, it does take a lot of work out of you, man. And that's an even funny fact you bring up because the narcissist took a lot out of us. So in this world we live in, it just seems anything worth having is going to take some work. I would darn sure rather work towards a better life, um, rather than a stagnant life, a better life that's progressive. Even just if I'm single for the rest of my life, I would I would I relish in just waking up trying to, dig deep and do the best that I can with what I have and be the best person I can. We dug deep We dug deep and deeper and deeper. We went hard. We went to our last breath for the narcissist. When we didn't have anything else left, we still dug deeper, not knowing and realizing that it was all in vain. So again, if you capture those instances that we did, we went the distance with the narcissist. Go the distance for yourself. As an empath, it takes a lot out of you anyway. Because, like I said, we think, we're deep thinkers, we're critical thinkers. We spend a lot of time by ourselves. We don't like to be crowded with a lot of pushy, uh, enforced ideas from other people. We take ideas, but if it feels forced on us, we retreat. We retreat. Not to say that we know it all, but we trust ourselves more than we trust the thought process of others. Now, you may say, well, okay, well, how did we get hoodwinked by the narcissist? As empaths and chosen ones, the empathy is what the narcissist was counting on. Is not in vain. Uh, but you can spare others by teaching them, thank you, I see you. It's never in vain. But that one reason there is why I think a lot of us challenge ourselves and we get outside of ourselves in order to come on here and speak to someone who we may think is not listening. Uh, I always say the numbers don't mean anything to me. I hope one day I never think differently. Uh, but the numbers encourage the content creators just nonetheless. When you see your channel growing, I get that part. You want to believe that you're making an impact, but we're talking about just numbers for the sake of having numbers. Okay, so just a balance there. I would definitely love to to see numbers grow in that respect. And I believe there are a lot of people that listen to whatever it is I'm saying, that don't subscribe. So I'm very encouraged that, you know, and I have to believe that. And if I don't see it, I still believe it because I'm going to show you in 2020 when I woke up and my bro, Denzel Moss, when I woke up and I think he might have had his channel a couple of months before me, uh, I stumbled upon him on YouTube and I've never been the same. And he encouraged me. And I told the story before, but he actually wanted to show me a lot of different things to where I could get the channel and get some traction. And you know, I kind of told him I didn't want to do it that way. I just want to organically come on, and I didn't take him up on that, and it wasn't a disrespect to him. And I'm happy with that decision. At some point, maybe I will go into my channel and do it a different way. But I want everything that I do to be organic and I want it to be inspired more than anything by God. I want it to be my heart has to feel what I'm talking about. I have to believe that this is something that someone is going to benefit from in a good way. So, it's not in vain that we do what we do. And never think that the numbers matter because if you do, you won't stay the course. So I want to talk about that lesson that we learned from that narcissist because they were definitely counting on the fact that they were going to destroy us, and it didn't happen. I hope your channel grows and more people learn from you. Also, I hope people with MPD um, traits examine themselves. I hope that too. I see you too, and that is very caring of you to say that because as hard and abrasive as we come across about narcissists, we're not supposed to appreciate anything about them. Let's get that straight. But in that, the humanism and the humanity in us, we're not just empaths because we call ourselves empath. What I see you just said is living proof of why we are empaths. We have an insurmountable amount of empathy. We don't wish any harm on anyone. We don't wish that the narcissist die. We don't wish that they just uh, something bad happens to them, they will be dealt with based on the way that they move. They will be dealt with all in and of themselves. There is a such thing as an empath actually praying and hoping and wishing for the change of the narcissist. And I'm inclined to believe that I'm one of those people that a lot of times my heart aches because they are so hell bent on evil. And, because I really, and because a lot of the narcissists that you see and you see in society visually and in the physical form, they look like very, very decent people. They're human at the end of the day, but there is something that is disordered in them that seemingly can never be ordered or never be put back in order. I believe God has the power to change them, but it's going to take them accepting the fact that they have that issue. There are a few narcissists online that are supposedly changing lives by just allowing people to realize who they are and what they are. Sam Bachman is one of them. I listen to him. I don't believe I'm subscribed. I'm subscribed, and this may sound crude, but I'm going to show you um, my whole science behind it. I unsubscribe to every narcissist on here that is uh, encouraging and educating us on who they are. Uh, I don't, I rarely like any of the videos and I rarely uh, comment. So those are the three things that I have since ceased and desist in doing. And why do I do it? Because I'm never ever going to endorse evil minded, evil thinking people. Now, because I don't endorse them, I am very aware and attuned and I am very uh, engaged when they talk. I'm very engaged. There's a love There's a love ordeal on the inside of me with them. Yep. Don't don't despise yourself or dislike yourself for being that way. That's a very good thing. But in that being the case, I see you too. I know for certain that don't get it twisted. You're not gullible as you were before. You're not as uh, we're not as naive as we were before. We will give them a little less rope than we gave them before, but we will allow them to hang themselves by their own undoing. We don't contribute to it. We don't run around uh, blowing up their spot because to make other people aware on a grand scale, other than in this platform and a few others, only makes us look like we are the problem. So being awakened as an empath and the chosen one, and realizing that uh, we have a responsibility and obligation. And along with that obligation, that responsibility is wisdom. We have to use wisdom because most people we talk to about this out in society, they are so dark, they are so in the dark about it, and they are so wired to the matrix until this would have to be something like we experienced. It would have to be an abuse. It would have to be an intense amount of abuse by the narcissist in order to truly awaken uh, these individuals. And if they're not a chosen one or an empath, I can't say that they won't wake up. They won't truly come to their wit. I mean, come to their senses. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I think having a strong amount of empathy, I don't believe that in and of itself makes you an empath because empathy can be learned as it is with all of us. But the deeper part of empathy is innate to an empath. It is something that was, I believe, that was imputed in us by God. And it didn't grow stagnant. It continued to get water. It continued to think outside of itself is really where I'm going. Because an empath is never really self-centered. It's always it's always serving. It's never self-serving, self-seeking. And with that empathy, and what makes that empathy so potent is the love behind it. It's the love behind it. A lot of us think we love, but we truly don't know what love is. God said he is love. He who loveth knoweth God. He who loveth not knoweth not God. And that's not impede on anyone who don't believe in God. I'm just kind of giving you a rundown of what scripture says. Give it some thought. Think on those things. If you've tried other avenues of life, give the scripture a chance and see what it does for you, and just ask God to show you some things that you may or may not believe in, and just just watch Him work in your life. So they were our actual blessing, and this is a guy that don't go to church, by the way, and just for emphasis, I used to go to church. You know I pulled a plug on church. Um, and was in the midst of pulling the plug on church as we know church. That's what I mean. Gatherings. Uh, Prior to, I was in the midst of disengaging prior to awakening from the narcissist. I just knew something didn't feel right. And I saw a lot of the phoniness with just naked eyes. Not even, even a non empath was able to see the foolery, and it was just a shish show. And all of this foolishness, I could do bad by myself. So that was the verdict on that. And my children, for God's sakes, I brought them to a place to help them experience what worshiping God looks like, so they would get an opportunity to choose for themselves, not forced. And we began to see the arguing, the bickering, the different types of um, shenanigans that go on in some of these churches now. No order, a lot of disruptiveness. No perfect people in the world, but you know what I'm talking about. So, uh, and it was just an overwhelming amount of body language that was speaking to me, saying, these people are just putting on a charade. And for those reasons and a few other, I decided to disengage, and it was the best decision I made in my life. So, for all you non believing individuals out there, I'm not a holy roller. I'm very spiritual. I'm deeply invested in God. And I love the Bible, and I don't find issue with the Bible. But I don't find conflict with people who don't believe in the Bible. So I'm different in that respect. I'm not here to go, back and forth with people with the scriptures. I believe in embrace. And I always say, if you don't believe in God, just believe I believe in God. That may be enough to just encourage you to kind of see some of my life and say, man, this guy gives the good, bad, and the ugly about himself. You know, my confidence comes from God. I used to stutter and I was shy when I was a child. And for a long time, into my mid to late teenage years, I wet the bed. And I didn't know at the time it was because of the childhood traumas that I had experienced through seeing my dad come in wee hours of the morning, and I would hear yelling and screaming. That would be him jumping on my mom. And I know a lot of us got those stories, but I'm trying to not sensationalize anything, and I'm not looking for the sympathy. In prison in 97, where the curse of alcoholism was broke. And that's when I began to be able to introspect, and I soul search myself and say, man, you know what? The wife is not the problem. She's not in jail. I'm in jail. Then when I started to just take all the responsibility, even though she called the police, I just had to take all the responsibility. And in this case with the narcissist, that's a good place to start. Don't let them take any responsibility for what they took you through. They did what they did, but take responsibility, like I see you said, or I think it was the other visitor said, we chose. So take all the responsibility because we chose. We signed up with them. We could have broke it off at any given time, but we know, they bamboozled us. But now we know. So going forth, we can see God's hand in that. but we should be able to see God's hand in that. There's no other explanation for it. I can say Google is kind of what led me to narcissistic personality disorder, but that is a means that I believe God allowed to use as a conduit for me to be awakened. I appreciate that, man. Accountability is the first step in like the AAs, and you'll see people just like flock into AAs. They know the AA creed like the back of their hands. But true accountability is, I believe, just taking responsibility before your back is against the wall. And even when your back is against the wall, the quicker you take accountability, the better. So either or is good. But now I'm in my life after the prison and 20 some years sober, God's done some great things in my life. I began to take accountability for something sooner rather than later. And every time there's an issue, I like to revert back to what roles did I play in this? What access did I give this person to do what they did to me? And I go on to learn from every encounter or experience. I don't want to say mistake, because every relationship I've been in, I account it to or I attribute it to a life lesson, a life lesson. And people may think that's philosophical, but the more you run towards accountability and you run towards just accepting that person chose to do what they did to you. You don't have to choose to do back to them what they did to you. Because if you're not built that way, you got to say, wow, thank God. If I was that person, that would be a real bad situation. And you say, so why did they take me through that? Something empty in them. Something's empty in them. To be fair, I didn't want to love. I didn't want to love those narcs. I understand. Believe me, I ain't gonna even sit here in front. When I first woke up in 2020, man, I don't know. Go back and look at my video. I might have been talking crazy and talking a lot less encouraging than I am now. And good thing with me is I love the fact that I can look back at some stuff that I did before and I can see the growth. And so you're actually cleansing yourself. Uh, A48, I believe it is. You're cleansing your own soul, cleansing your own soul for the fact that uh, you're saying you didn't want to lose to the narc. So who wants to lose? Anything we do in the world, we don't do it to lose. And when you think about it, what did you lose? You lost some dead weight. You might have lost um, some materialistic things, but you didn't lose your life, man. You didn't lose your life. Think on that. And you didn't lose your sanity. You didn't lose your self respect, although we compromised a lot of our self respect when we were with them because you find out once they get in with us, they do some of the most atrocious things. I heard a content creator, or not a content creator, I've seen a comment where a person said that they're very sadistic, they're into, let's say, sexually. They will you will meet them and you may do just common sex and you may do a little edgy stuff, a little freaky stuff. Um, you may be a little more voyeuristic in the car, whatever. They will up the ante. They will do things. They will begin to try to include other people in the sexual experience. They just put fill in the blank. If you can think it, and it's uh if you can think it, they have already thought it, if not done it. They would take something supposed to be so sacred and so beautiful between you and them, and there's no holds barred. And before you know it, you're signed up for that. And you take on the mindset of them because what? They've love bombed you. She may have the beautiful body, she may have that sex appeal. So now you're willing to um, run down the street naked with her. And vice versa. He may be all muscle bound and seemingly has a big following from friends. And most of the friends they have, by the way, when you meet them, they make you feel or they give the appearance like they have a lot of friends. They just have a lot of people hoodwinked. They're not true. Those are not true friends. And when they go places and take you, YouTube connection problem, you have a good night too, man. I might just sign off in a few minutes, but for right now, I got a broke foot. I ain't really got to get up early in the morning, so I really understand if you guys gotta bounce. And so they they have these friends, but they're really like fake friends, almost like having 10,000 Facebook friends. They will get in with someone, and I could do a whole video on this, and you guys already know this. We all network. Let's say me, I have a small business. If I see somebody and I ask them what they do out and about, and they say I do this, if I feel that there could be a networking possibility there, that is just something that's a beautiful thing to do, and that's a business thing to do. But with the narcissist, they're looking at what they can benefit from this friend shit, not friendship or relationship. They say they build these relationships on sand, but they'll have the people who they're invested with socially believing that there is something to mutually be gained. And there is no mutual give and take or give and give. It's just a take, take, take. Got an ice pack here, guys. That's why I keep sitting up, man. It's the waters. You get the idea. So forgive me. I'm gonna continue a little while longer. I'm bouncing around, but all of this stuff is pertinent to or relevant to the conversation of the narcissist lesson was the empath's blessing. And as you begin to heal and as you begin to become more educated about who they are, even and think outside of relationship you were in, start noticing cues and behaviors outside of that relationship that you was in. Start noticing it at your workplace. Don't just become closed minded of that relationship and going to work talking about, with this mindset of with this heavy weight on your chest, like, man, I got to work two jobs because that narcissist took everything that I had. I got to work a whole another 2 years to get back what they took. Then what happens? You go to this job that you probably didn't like before the narcissist, but now you really hate going in here because you feel like you're working for nothing. So now you're closing your mind to what you should be vigilant about, which is your surroundings. Because often, more times than not, you are very much in association with a narcissist on a regular basis, and you don't realize it because you're so fixated on that relationship, that intimate partner, that family member. So when you come to work, you use work as an outlet, and you're thinking, or you're not thinking that, man, 1 in 6 people in America is statistically been said. I don't know how true it is. 1 in 6 people are narcissists. So if there's 6 people in the room, there's one narcissist in that room. And if they're not a narcissist, they are extremely narcissistic and they're in the making. Well, I won't say in the making because Sam Bachman said after 7 years old, it is, you know, sort of nearly impossible for someone to become a narcissist. Those are the critical stages. And I believe that number 7 is very biblical because 7 is the number of completion. I don't really get into numbers like that. Four out of six. Wow, 4 out of 6. That is very disturbing. Wow. Mm, that's disturbing, man. Seriously, 4 out of 6. Huh. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna contend with that because, hey, Dr. Romney may have given those numbers as well, and yeah, it's a lot of them. And to your point, 4 out of 6 in this generation, all you gotta do look at TikTok and all these social media platforms, where somebody can just jump on there and do something silly. To which I found myself strolling through. Some of it is so comedic and it's harmless, but in a big way, I think harmless or harmful. I can see a deep-seated narcissism in a lot of this stuff. A lot of this stuff. A lot of it. And I try not to be overly critical when I do see it. I just try to balance what I see and observe it in that thing or that person per se. And I try to do a reflection and say, man, do I act like this often? How often do I act like this? Have I done this or do I do certain things to get a laugh or to get a rise out of people comedically? And when and if I do it, is it sporadic or impulsive, or um is it a yearning to just have someone laugh? Like I'll tell a joke, and if I just keep going, sometimes I'll just keep on telling jokes to a person. Say, for example, a woman, and I have her laughing, laughing, laughing. Something in us, when we feel like that person is interested in what we're doing, we seem to keep doing it, and sometimes we overdo it. That can become obnoxiousness. And I think the narcissist is nothing more than an obnoxious. They're obnoxious on steroids. And I used to really act obnoxious just to piss people off, and I didn't know really why I was doing it because I didn't know I was doing it to probably, preferably narcissists, because I could sense that certain people were uh, being a certain way with me intentionally. Just like if I came along and I told them something that was good or kind, or they would make little snide jokes, so I would be obnoxious and I would go back at them with another joke, and I would just be better at demeaning them in a certain kind of way. And since I've become aware of narcissistic personality disorder, I want no part of that. I would like to be just the quietest person in the room, and if I am vocal, I'd like it to mean something. I always like to say, when people used to say, "Oh, you talk all the time," and I'd say, yeah, I can agree to that, but a lot of people talk a lot and they ain't saying anything. So you got to have a comeback, not to let people feel like they hurt you or they wounded you, but at the same time, you got to own who you are. Be aware, be in tune of who you are, and be okay with it. There's a time when I'm not as talkative. I listen. Just that, when you have a lot to say and it's going to help somebody, you really need to speak. Because I made a short that you got to speak like it's your last time speaking. Kevin Samuels, for example, I didn't know much about him until probably a year before he actually passed away. He was a controversial, he was very abrasive, specifically towards women. And I don't want to say towards women. He was specifically abrasive where it pertains to women and where it pertained to uh, black women. And a lot of what he said, like it, hate it, love it, or leave it, it did deserve thought. And if you weren't that type of person and to be offended by that, it would definitely concur into the narrative that he was talking about. Because if it didn't apply often, the best thing to do is to let it fly. And when people began to comment and comment like on here, when they comment on what we're talking about here, it just plays their hand. You have a lot of narcissists that will say, I had one comment one time, And it sticks out because I don't get a lot of negative comments, and if I did, I don't know if I would really reply or respond to it. I'm just sort of building myself in a way where those things are to be had. And he said something to the effect of, I'm gonna just paraphrase, "You talking crazy," something like that. And I would readily agree with him. I am talking crazy. This is nonsense to a lot of people. And maybe I'm talking like I'm very PhD and this and that, but I'm not. I don't know much of anything, but I'm learning of uh, a lot of things about who these people are and how they move. And a lot of times I'm learning it not from a book, but behaviors. I'm learning it from behaviors as a result of listening to the experts. And and people like myself who've been through hell with them. Nothing teaches you better than experience itself. So we have PhDs in the experience. We don't need to know the psychopathy because if you're going to spend your time in the DSM 4 and 5, that's like you better off reading the Bible. Going to read a book that big. And unless you're going to go into some kind of occupation where you're going to make, money hand over fist, it really is not going to serve an empath or a chosen one. I think we have the intuitive nature to discover based on body language, based on behavior, and a little bit of just studying academically about these people. I think that would serve us better. I ain't dissuading people or discouraging you from going into the DSO 4 and 5. I was going to buy that book. And I said, no, do yourself a favor. Just go another route and begin to be uh, the best person you can be by introspecting and looking at where your life is now. Then latch on to some education from people who've gone before you, and with that, the behavior, looking at things outside of you, paying attention, being a little more vigilant, being a little more, observant, and you'll find out that these things are not complicated. A narcissist is not that complicated. They all do the same thing. They all do the same thing. Look at that. The whole mainstream internet is like narcissistic. What is that? Man, these classes are terrible. Yeah, I would agree with you there too. And even being comical, I would agree with you there because in this technological world, we have to. Well, we don't have to, but there's no way around seeing these things and how they affect us is the difference. You and I, we can look at these shenanigans and all of this obsessive attention grubbing stuff, and we can readily disconnect from it because we're not following in the footstep of these people. They got a rush. They got attention rush, like a sugar rush. They having a sugar rush, and that sugar rush is attention. I'll tell you shows that I really do appreciate. Outdoor shows. There's one particular one. If you guys haven't seen these guys, I would encourage you. And they're not paying me. I'm just gonna plug them. Outdoors with the Morgans. He has a story, real nice story. He quit his job, six figures, I think, to continue to do YouTube. But he had a job just like everybody else that are on here. He worked a 9 to 5 and had a family, and with an autistic kid. Still found time to do YouTube, and he didn't start YouTube as a way to get money, or I don't think was attention. I think he just gradually started videoing and wanted to share some of what he did with the world. And now this guy, man, like a million plus views, most of his videos. Outdoors with the Morgans, and I have a few others. I'm a nature guy, so I have a lot of these people that I'm a fan of. So these type of videos, And a lot of these are, you got a lot of narcissists that are doing those type of videos too. It is give and take in all type of check out TV serial, the OA. Okay. Say it a little better. Is it check out TV series or serial? The OA. Okay, if it's the OA, if it's the way you said it, I'll check that out. I appreciate it. But it's give and take with everything on the internet. There's because the narcissist will latch on to everything that's beautiful, everything is good, everything that is pure. They want in on it because guess what? They're after purity. Because in your purity, in your essence, in your uh, authenticity, they don't see an empty seat for them because they can't connect with that. And because they can't connect with that, they're like the drunk uncle that comes in the middle of the party drunk and ruins the party. He comes in to the wedding party before the wedding begins, he's drunk. This is how narcissist is. They come in and they ruin things single handedly. And they do it so methodically, like, say, a family reunion. That narcissist will come in. If they are an alcoholic or a drug addict, that further just intensifies their malignancy or their sadisticness because they're very psychotic. And so they'll get half of the family siding with them because guess what? No one is aware that they're dealing with a person that really don't care about the the BS that they're creating. They may say something. They do sound bites like, "Oh, you don't like me," and they'll have the cousins on one side saying, "Yeah, he's right. You don't like him. You ain't never liked him." But neither side are aware that the person that they're fighting for or the person that they're fighting against does not really even authentically care about anything important. They just care about ruining the spirit and the occasion for everyone. That's all they care about. Because in your harmony, when people are gathering, there's a certain harmony. There's a certain harmony. You can be sitting there and everything can go smooth, be going smooth, and you'll look over at the nurse and say, "What's the problem?" "Oh, I'm just ready to go home." They're selfish, and you'll say, "Why you want to go home?" "Oh, my head's hurting," and they'll be telling you the truth. Their head is hurting. Their head is throbbing because they can't stomach. Their head can't stomach. They'll say, "I got a stomach ache." Whatever, you get the point. They cannot stomach the harmony, the order, the decency, the authenticity, the organic getting together of people in a flow. They don't not like a flow. They want to put a stop to that. It's a million different ways you can slice this cake when it comes to the narcissist. They are all things bad. They are all things toxic. They are all things not good because self serving and never ever looking at serving, being a servant, it never ever will work out in any setting for them. Now, if they're privileged, entitled, which they are, everywhere they go, they tend to get their way. And this is how they've gone through life. And whenever they're met with obstacles or opposition or somebody speaks against something, as small as it might be, it could be something very small. Because guess what? When you're used to getting your way, it doesn't take a huge opposition. It could be something as small as a menu or anything very, very childish. And they can just lose their lunch. And you'll have people looking around like, wow, wow, they really got upset about that. And we attribute that outbursts, well, maybe they're stressed out, maybe their job. We overthink what we just experienced and witnessed, and we'll start making excuses for them. And see, all we have to do is just look at that behavior, and then you look at a pattern. But you only can do that when you're awake. People who've academically studied narcissists only, I don't think they're even in tune, because studying this academically to go on to be a psychologist and to go on to be a therapist, you can see this to some degree, but I will always believe unless you've been directly impacted by, meaning abused, tormented, devalued, and all these other things repeatedly, religiously, and rigorously by a narcissist, you won't have a sound idea of what they're doing when they're doing it. We have the goods. And because we have the goods in the way that we have the goods, that's why it's a blessing for us. A lot of people wish they could see what we see. The narcissist is like a child who want everything to be like they want, and the moment something is not like they want, the shit show start. Hey, for real, for real. And again, let's use for example. I can want my way a lot too, but you know the difference is I won't go crazy, and I won't get so vocal to the point where it'll be like, well, why y'all don't want to do it, or take my ball and go home. I use the example. You remember you used to play basketball, or you probably grew up witnessing basketball and playing basketball outside. You ever notice when, well, let's take this example. I used this one before. You know, when Susie, mom, tell her, say, Susie, let Jennifer play with your baby doll. And you'll notice this little girl hands the doll to Jennifer as the mom just asked her. And the mom says she'll give it back. And Susie hands it to Jennifer. And in like 3 seconds, Susie snatches it away from Jennifer. He's like, Susie, why did you? The mom's like, why did you do that? So even the mom's oblivious, but mom doesn't realize you spoiled this girl to a fault. You told her that she needs to share, but you didn't teach her how to share. See, a lot of us tell our children right from wrong, but we don't teach them right from wrong. You teach by showing. You tell a person by saying. And in a lot of families, they say a lot, they show a little bit. And in doing that, we're creating narcissists. And a lot of us, by all accounts, as far as I can see, you would say a lot of times that, well, she's raising her kids to be very decent human beings. He's raising his son to do the admirable thing, to become a police officer like he is, XYZ. But it's the subtle nuances that we don't really readily observe in how these children, young adults, are responding to these adorations, these stroking of the egos. And it's in those subtleties that you can see that that person is embellishing, they're gloating, they are just, they're getting a rise out of all of this adoration and attention. Does that in and of itself mean that this person is in fact on their way to be a narcissist? Well, there's a strong chance. And there is no guarantee that that child will or won't become a narcissist. No one person on this earth can guarantee who's going to become a narcissist and who's not. But we do know now that we are awakened. We, the awakened and the aware ones, we know that we must do things different. We know we must be truth tellers. We must tell the truth. We must be firm when we need to. We must not coddle people needlessly and excessively. We need to be able to encourage people in a beautiful way. It needs to be accountability, and we ourselves need to have boundaries, and we need to encourage our children to have boundaries, not to keep letting, not to let them allow other people to keep on putting them in compromising positions and being last man out just to have their friends, uh, have first seat and those type of things. So there's always a constant retweaking and rearranging in life in order to sort of ensure that we are monitoring how we behave and how people around us are behaving. Otherwise, when we allow these people, and in this case, narcissists, when we allow them to get too much of their foot into the door, I think that is the defining factor of how hard it'll be to get them out of that door and close it. And so, just so many dynamics, man. There is never days off with these people. We will always have to be vigilant. It is like a soldier. When you're in a war situation, you always have to have you know, your head on a swivel. In our society, narcissism is prized. It's prized, so all the NPCs copy the behavior. Yup. Hey, listen. Before I close, man, you're hitting all the nails on the head because I like a lot of other people, and I hate to keep saying I, but I concur with you because this is what I see. To your point, the narcissist is training most of society on how to behave like a narcissist. You and I may not be narcissists, but take, for example, before we awaken, we behaved in many cases like a narcissist. We went along with the person who was full of, you know what? We didn't so much encourage him to be bad, but we cheerleaded him for being who he was. So, in supporting bad behavior, even if you're just a casual listener, that in itself supports it. And so, when no one calls anyone out on their behavior, you're supporting it. And I don't mean you need to jump on the tabletops. Hey, you're wrong. I'm saying if you're associated with people and you're in their circle and you have an influence in their life or they have an influence in your life, say they're friends, either you got to do one or two things. You got to cut the cord and disassociate yourself with them. Don't give them the memo. They reach out and say, hey, why you don't come to our reindeer games anymore? Just say, man, I'm busy. I got a lot going on. You don't let them know you're a narcissist, man. I don't hang with you, I don't rock with you no more. That could go left real quick. So you either gotta do that or you gotta call them on their stuff. And even the former, calling them out on their stuff, there's consequences behind that because if it's a narcissist, they will subtly make you pay for that. You call them out because they embarrassed. They're shame-based people. If you correct them in front of their friends, even if you don't even know you correcting them and you don't be doing it in a malicious way. You could just be like, as a friend, that's just what friends do. We kind of like correct our friends, or we'll, if there's an inaccuracy the narcissist might speak on, and you say, no, that's not what happens. And say if it's a stat on a football game, narcissists, you correct them, they will nonchalantly harbor that attitude, especially if those guys in that pub laugh and say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. What you smoke, he just corrected you." So if they amp up that situation and make that narcissist feel like they're less than, they're like a little kid. They're like a little kid. They will make you pay. And in what way they'll make you pay, it could be from anything from subtle, something minimal to the extreme. Uh, I mean, I don't even want to fill in the blanks there. These are dangerous people. They are very dangerous people. They make movies uh, like A48 just said. They will make you pay for a lot of what you did to them as far as embarrassing them. And in many cases, in the extreme situations, they've gone on to unalive people. And I'm just being straight with you guys. It's not to be triggering. It is what it is. They've made movies about this stuff. There's a movie called Esther. I haven't watched that movie in a long time, and I don't care to watch it again. And I don't watch a lot of movies that are dramatized or a lot of intense yelling and screaming and emotions. And I just don't watch any of that stuff anymore. And I encourage any of you guys listening to me, stop watching. What purpose does it serve? And don't you dare say it's just entertainment. Because if you need to be entertained by watching all of this uh, catty, instigating, fighting, yelling, screaming, even the ER, even all of these medical shows where it's always someone's coding, someone's about to die. I dare you. I dare you to not watch this stuff again. You know what's going to happen once you really find out that you need to detach from this. Then we'll find out how addicted we are to it. We'll find out how addicted we are to the chaos. The world has us wired to chaos. Even the political presidential elections, some of the undercutting, demeaning, character assassination stuff that they say on live, on the air, is disheartening. But they want us to be in a harmonious mindset when it comes to voting for them. And some of the laws that they're trying to pass are supposed to encourage harmony. It's a very hypocritical uh, mindset of the narcissist. It's a very hypocritical uh, undoing of society. And unfortunately, it's never ever going to be any harmony in the world. So just know that. I'm already o- I'm already okay realizing that. I wish that that this wasn't the case, but there would never be harmony in a way where the world would just um, be able to sort of know that they can go out of their house and not have to worry about, you know, an atrocious or an atrocity on a grand scale. And so, where they're going to come from, they could come from anywhere because you got to understand the narcissist is the one who perpetuates the chaos. The narcissist is the one that perpetuates. Yep, we were gullible as F. That shows one's biggest weakness. Listen, man, and we will go forth and still be gullible to some degree. That's why I always say, man, embrace the idea of God being in charge of us, our life. For me to believe that God is in charge, He's the all knowing, all seeing of the universe. What it does for me as a human being, it grants me and it affords me a certain amount of humility. And I believe humility is the very reason why we survive the narcissist. Because guess what? If our gullibleness didn't, if us being gullible, they didn't destroy us, what saved us? It was the humility and the pureness of heart is what God rewarded us in getting out in allowing the narcissist not to succeed in destroying us. And I know a lot of people may not embrace that. They mean it's like I don't see that, man. I don't get that out of that. Well, like I say, if you don't get this out of that, you're alive and you're breathing. If you're listening to me, guess what? You are blessed. And you didn't save yourself from the narcissist. You didn't do it. So you gotta feel something in that blank. And I don't know what you're gonna put in it. I put God there. And this is a guy that was in the church. See, God didn't go anywhere because I love the church. God is still forever in my heart and in my soul and in my consciousness and belief. Uh, I was trained to know God, believe in God, and put my faith. And when I did that, I want to show you something. I believe the God of the Bible showed up and showed out in my life. He delivered me from alcohol, delivered me from tobacco. He delivered me from a mindset of aggression, a mindset of just being a straight, low down man. You know, alcohol will make the best person into someone they don't even recognize. Drugs will do the same thing. And so you won't even recognize the new you. And this is 25 years later. And I didn't just start, investing in, my life trying to be a person of standard. I say I don't got a lot of money, but one thing I have my self worth and my integrity. In a way, we are the opposite of the narcissist. So God sent us like counter move to teach those narcissists. He did, and I like to say I believe we are the last chance, or we were the last. We was the last opportunity for the narcissist to change. We were the last opportunity I believe God gave the narcissist to turn over a new leaf. He used us. He used us as a picture or a mirror of what he wants the narcissist to be. Why, how we came in and we gave and we uh, partook in a union with them, even when they did us wrong in the relationship. We didn't know they were doing it intentionally. We forgave them. We gave them another chance to destroy us, not knowing that they was destroying. It was like, oh, batter up, just laying our head on the batting, whatever you call the thing, just so they could knock it out of the park. And they kept swinging, missing every time. And so, to your point, very much so. We are the polar opposite of them. And that's why they are attracted to us, because what we are and what we possess, they can't in and of themselves possess it. They have to go through God. They have to have a certain amount of humility. They have to accept, like I was talking about in AA, and I lost that thought, but I guess you understood where I was going. You have to accept when you say accountability, you can appreciate that and thank you. It says in the AA, it say you must admit that you have a problem in order to start work. That's the first step. You have to admit and accept that you have a problem. Admit and accept. Nurses will admit that they did something wrong. It's a shallow admitting. It's a shallow apology. Very shallow. They're saying what you want to hear. And that's a big component to why they keep uh the dirt keeps falling in the hole that they're digging for us. That's the very reason why they're digging the hole for us, and we're steadily climbing out. And it's like the Wile Coyote when you look at Roadrunner. Very, very clear analogy there, or metaphor. You see Wile Coyote, man, he is relentless in trying to take Roadrunner out. And for the life of me, I don't know. I think he's just taking him out because the guy's got a good energy, not just because he's fast. Uh, I think Roadrunner don't hold any grudges. Even all through the cartoon skit, Wile Coyote trying to kill him, trying to, throw boulders on him. He never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever seems to take revenge. And actually, Wile Coyote meets his own fate by his own undoing. The very things he set in place in motion to hurt and take Roadrunner out, he gets he gets dealt with by that very thing, that boulder, by that dynamite. He does that to himself, and it makes you wonder: Did the creators uh, were the creators who created this type of stuff, like Bugs Bunny, Tom and Jerry, were they narcissists or were they empaths? Interesting. That good and evil thing, man. It's very enticing, very popular in our world. We flock to movies, to the box office to see who's gonna win. You know, Terminator, uh, Superman and Super Friends, Transformers, gangster movies. And I'm not saying you shouldn't want to be, just let your hair down or whatever, and go to a movie here and there. But I'm just saying, to the degree that we flock to movies, man, we really need to research our soul and say, man, we've seen these movies in our real life. We've seen this by way of the narcissist. Because these movies that we go and pay money to see, all you gotta do is wake up and go out in the world. All you gotta do is just you can get that for free. People are behaving like this in real life. Got these young gang members, man. And I really want to do a video about that one day. Being an African American man, to see these young rappers that are holding guns in their hand, and most of them are malignant narcissists, by the way. And that begs the question: how did they get this way? Why it's so pervasive in the urban minority community? Because a lot of the minority parents are narcissists themselves. Because there's a lot of deep seated traumas in that. The way that a lot of urban ethnic, African American or uh, minorities raise and rear our children is with this harsh, stern discipline. Where it derived from, we adopted it from somewhere. Where we attribute it from, I'm not here to say because I haven't studied it deep enough. But I know this type of behavior resides in us in a deep way, as with a lot of other cultures too. But the onslaught and the vicious bloodshed amongst us, one amongst others, people act like they don't know how to figure out uh, a a solution to this. First of all, you have to look at yourself, and you really have to critically think and say, "Man, am I wounded? Am I traumatized by some things in my life? Do I want to continue to be this way?" The things we say we don't want our children to end up um, encountering by way of the streets. Ask yourself, do you have a behavior? Are you a person of the streets? If you are not patterning your life in the things that you don't want or in the thing that you want, if your life is patterned in the very things that you say you don't want your child to have, you got to examine yourself because you are a part of that problem. You are the reason why they are the way they are. Not to say one or two may not, or even it's not to guarantee that your child won't go to the streets, but you got to live by example. Remember what I said. You can tell your child how to act, or you can teach them how to act by what you do, not what you say. And I'm trying to be that guy, and think I'm doing a decent job. They're teachers, and they tell me I'm doing an okay job, so I'll take their word for that. And that's all I got. It doesn't take a lot of money. It just starts with you being you. Start with just the bare minimum. You have you. You don't have to wait until you get this type of money. You don't have to wait until you get into a certain status quo to be a better person. And if you need to look at YouTube and get some cues from some people who are actually doing the work, um, I would just encourage you to reach out and just, look towards somebody who has really done the work. Go look on YouTube and look into some biographies. Booker T. Washington, for example. There's a book called Up from Slavery. Has really nothing to do with slavery. It's a very quick read, it's about 300 pages, but it's a very impressionable book. It's for people of color and people of non-black descent. This is a book that will inspire people with a little bit to do a lot, which Booker T. Washington did. And some of the things that he accomplished in this book, you would just not believe it, but he did it. So, yeah, there are good examples out here in our world. It's not a lot. You have to look really hard to find them. But when you find a person that inspires you and they're consistent by their lifestyle, not just what they say, but how they move, you got to latch on to that kind of person because there's more chaos going on in the world than there is peace. There is more chaos. Chaos trumps peace right now. Chaos trumps peace. The narcs come to us angry as, yeah, and we are like meat. I'm out. Man, nice hanging out with you, man. I'm out too. I'm just rambling, but all of this stuff is very, very vital to our growth. So just take heart, man. And I appreciate you guys just coming in, listening, and giving your feedback. That means a lot to me because it means you guys got something to share too. So hope I see you in the future, guys. Like I say, you haven't subscribed to my channel, just subscribe. I'd appreciate it. The algorithms, I think, appreciate that. That way, people, I can pop up in other people's feed, and never know where I'll end up one day. Maybe meeting one of you guys or a couple of you guys. That would be a very very joyful thing to actually meet some of the content creators. I've never met another survivor yet of YouTube, and there are a few YouTubers that have linked up, only to a couple of them only to have disdain for each other. But I think you guys know what I'm talking about. It's really disheartening, but it's not going to stop us from moving the way we got to move. So if you're doing it for self, it ain't gonna work. But if you're doing it for the souls and the city for others, man, I think God's gonna bless it. So, all right, guys, be well. I'll talk to you soon. That being said, bless.